Late afternoon sun filtered through the high windows of the Brooklyn Heights brownstone, casting long golden shadows across the quiet living room. 32-year-old Catherine Walker stood near the kitchen counter, listening to the gentle simmer of the stew she had spent all morning preparing. Rich aromas of braised beef and fresh herbs filled the apartment, signaling that the special meal was finally ready. Today marked exactly 1 year since she had married her husband, Jonathan, and every detail of the evening had been carefully arranged to celebrate the milestone. The dining table was set with crisp linens, 2 crystal wine glasses, and a bottle of aged red wine resting right in the center. In the refrigerator, a delicate berry tart from a boutique bakery sat waiting, complete with a handwritten chocolate plaque expressing her gratitude for their first year together. Catherine smoothed down the front of her dark blue silk dress, a garment Jonathan had praised during their early dating days, and checked her reflection in the hallway mirror. Her excitement was mixed with a subtle, growing anxiety as the clock ticked past 6:30. Jonathan was a senior account executive at a major Manhattan firm, and his relentless work schedule meant they rarely shared dinner on weeknights. Over the past year, Catherine had patiently adapted, keeping meals warm and greeting him with a warm smile no matter how late he returned. But tonight was supposed to be different because he had explicitly promised a week prior that he would clear his calendar to come home early. Miles away in a high-rise hotel suite overlooking the shimmering skyline of Midtown Manhattan, Jonathan was relaxing on a plush sofa without a care in the world. He clinked his glass of champagne against that of Victoria Vance, his former girlfriend with whom he had recently reconnected. Victoria swirled her drink and casually brought up the date, asking if he should really be lounging in a luxury suite when his wife was likely waiting for him at home. Jonathan merely snickered, brushing off the concern with complete indifference as he tossed his phone onto the bed. He told Victoria that Catherine was well-trained, utterly predictable, and completely accustomed to spending long evenings by herself. He went on to mock his wife, describing her as nothing more than a quiet, convenient presence who cooked his meals and maintained the home without ever demanding anything in return. Victoria laughed at his dismissive remarks, teasing him about being a terrible partner while enjoying the lavish surroundings he provided. When a message notification from Catherine flashed across his screen asking about his arrival time, Jonathan deliberately ignored it, firmly believing that his wife would blindly accept whatever excuse he gave her the following morning. Back in the apartment, the hands-on-the-wall clock slowly approached 9 o'clock, and the warm atmosphere of the dining room began to feel suffocatingly heavy. The braised beef had long since cooled, forming a thin layer of solidified fat across the top of the pot, while the crisp salad had wilted in its bowl. Catherine sat motionless on the edge of the sofa, watching the screen of her phone remain completely dark. She tried calling his number twice, only to be redirected straight to voicemail after several long, hollow rings. The tall candles on the table had burned down to tiny pools of wax, casting flickering shadows against the wall before finally sputtering out. Sitting alone in the dark, Catherine felt a strange, profound calm wash over her, replacing the last remnants of hurt with complete emotional detachment. She realized in that silent moment that her marriage was an illusion, and that the man she had supported had no respect for her devotion. Rising slowly from the couch, she walked over to the wooden desk in the corner and pulled out a clean folder containing a fully signed petition for divorce. By 11 o'clock, the silent apartment felt less like a home and more like the launch point for an impending transformation. Catherine took a long, measured breath, completely free of any residual grief or hesitation, knowing that the time for quiet tolerance had officially ended. Over the past 12 months, Jonathan had gradually revealed a cruel, arrogant side that stood in stark contrast to the attentive man she had married. Shortly after their wedding, he began openly belittled her career, dismissing her corporate communications job as insignificant simply because his salary was higher. Despite her consistent contributions to their living expenses, he treated her like a dependent caretaker, expecting her to handle every domestic responsibility while he focused entirely on his own ambition. Catherine had initially tried to fix the strain in their relationship by being even more accommodating, waking at dawn to prepare his breakfast and staying up until midnight to welcome him home. Her patience only encouraged his disrespect, culminating 3 months earlier when he stumbled home late and dropped a boutique receipt from his coat pocket. That receipt from a high-end Fifth Avenue jeweler detailed a purchase for a diamond necklace costing thousands of dollars, a gift Catherine had certainly never received. When she noticed the date coincided with a Sunday he had claimed was spent in emergency client meetings, the reality of his deceit became undeniably clear. Instead of confronting him immediately and inviting a barrage of practiced lies, Catherine chose to remain entirely silent. She returned the paper to his pocket and decided right then that she would plan her departure with absolute precision. Over the next 12 weeks, she methodically laid the groundwork for her exit while maintaining the front of a loving, attentive wife. She redirected her salary away from their joint account into a private one and subtly began removing her personal belongings from the apartment bit by bit. Jonathan was so self-absorbed that he never noticed the missing framed photographs or the gradual clearing of her wardrobe. When he casually suggested a quiet anniversary dinner at home 2 weeks prior, Catherine smiled brightly and agreed. Fully aware that it would serve as the final scene of her quiet departure, the true turning point had occurred a month earlier when Catherine confronted Jonathan late at night regarding several suspicious charges on their joint credit card statement. The bill listed thousands of dollars spent at luxury hotels, high-end Italian restaurants, and designer boutiques on days he claimed to be working. When she calmly asked him to explain the charges, Jonathan flew into a rage, snatching the paper from her hands and slamming it onto the table. He hurled harsh insults at her, accusing her of prying into his affairs and demanding to know how she dared question his spending when he earned the majority of their income. When Catherine pointed out that the restaurant name matched his ex-girlfriend's, Jonathan dropped all pretense and arrogantly admitted his infidelity. He told her that a man in his position deserved to enjoy himself and bluntly stated that if she did not like it, she was free to pack her bags and leave. That terrifying exchange extinguished any remaining warmth Catherine held for him, converting her heartbreak into a sharp, unshakable resolve to rebuild her life entirely on her own terms. On the morning of their anniversary, Catherine had sent Jonathan off to work with a gentle farewell, watching him leave with the quiet satisfaction of someone who knew the truth. As soon as the elevator doors closed behind him, she initiated the final phase of her plan by contacting her family and securing moving assistance. Throughout the remainder of the day, while Jonathan was busy enjoying his afternoon at the penthouse suite with Victoria, a professional moving team quietly cleared out every item that belonged to Catherine. They removed her furniture, her art, her electronics, and all personal touches, leaving behind only the cold, vacant space of an empty apartment. She laid the signed divorce papers directly on the kitchen island right beside the untouched, congealed anniversary meal. Walking out the front door for the last time, Catherine left her key on the counter and stepped into the evening air without looking back. She knew that when Jonathan finally returned expecting a submissive wife waiting in the shadows, he would enter an empty home and confront the permanent consequences of his arrogance.